that's the reality. I mean, it wasn't going to happen any other way. And the thing is, it didn't take you 16 weeks to get to 300 pounds. This is years upon years upon years of what you've been doing. And I think that also, highlights what I was saying before, is if she can go through this journey of just losing that kind of percentage on a week-to-week basis, yes, it's going to be 100 weeks, but she's going to appreciate that journey so much more, because she's going to realize that that person that she was to get to 300 pounds needs to completely dissolve, and she needs to become this new version of herself.
I'm Kitty Bloomfield, co-founder of New Strength and Saturée, creator of pro-metabolic food supplements and seriously saturated skincare. And today I'm joined by my co-founder and co-host, Craig McDonald. Welcome back, Craig.
Thanks to the new podcast setup.
I know.
You might recognize this. The table used to be over here and there was just lots of black everywhere. And obviously this being in our home, it was becoming this very weird blurred line between an office and a home.
It was just really dark too.
It was dark
and dingy, and it just didn't.
And this space
no
here, we walk through the middle of it, so it was just constantly cameras and cords everywhere, and ring lights and mics, and I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah,
it looked cool. Definitely looked cool.
I don't know. I feel like this looks nicer.
I think this looks
nicer.
nicer.
Lighter too. It's brighter. I've got
I'm
the nice
going all
couch.
in, and yeah, the couch is really good.
We moved the couch from upstairs.
Yeah,
and Craig ordered this big lounge thing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really nice couch, but when I'm kicking back, watching the Clippers or playing, so I'm bigger, so I can't really spread out on it. So I've ordered a stupidly oversized couch for up there. But this one is perfect for this area.
It's great. So now we can have our coffee and carrot
salad.
salad.
We forgot to make coffee.
I know, or drink our orange juice or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a bit of the update. People are like, I don't really give a fuck about your, about your podcast.
What I would say is, if you were feeling like stressed like that at home, we had a big purge last week. We got rid of a lot of stuff and threw out and sold a bunch of stuff on Marketplace. And
we had a huge clean out. We've been doing some emotional work with our coach, Greta, who I've talked about heaps on the podcast.
Yeah.
Craig's working with her as well.
Yeah, it's quite amazing when you really have a sequence of events over a couple of days where we're like, oh, maybe we should jump. Nah, let's just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of
sold everything. It felt good.
It's been
amazing. A really interesting time, hasn't it, Craig?
That's one way of putting it, yes.
We were actually, I said to Craig, doing this work has helped me, I think, relate more to clients and, where they are in the journey, because, for us, like training and nutrition is so ingrained in us. It's who we are. It's easy, doing the meal prep's easy, going to training's easy, but this work is new.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, when clients come in and they want to, they're starting at zero and then they think, oh God, like 12 to 18 months, like that's so far, it feels so far away. And they have this idea of where they want to be and who they want to be, but they're like, I just can't imagine, like it feels so far away.
Yeah.
And we were just chatting about one of the pieces of advice that we give women is, like, how do you eat an elephant?
Yeah, one bite at a time.
That's right. And it's like make these little jumps and then adjust, and do small things and adjust. And then day by day you get closer and you get closer. But sometimes it can, like for us, this is just me personally, sometimes it's so hard to even imagine trying to get to where I want to be. And it's just making that sort of mindset change around it. Anyway, it's just giving me really good appreciation for what our clients go through.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, certainly in the world that we live in today, there's always this thing. It's just like, when I get there, I'll be happy. When I have this thing, I'll be happy.
Greta's like, fall in love with the fucking journey, would ya?
And it's just,
she doesn't say it like that, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's your interpretation of it. But it is so true. I think, one of the things I've always valued about, obviously going through like training and nutrition, and if we're just talking about training, like understanding more about how my body responds to the training that I'm doing, and then I make an adjustment and then see some more progress. Like when you make an adjustment in black and white, you see some sort of progression happen as a result of that adjustment. It might be only the slightest thing. It might be like, me switching to an overhand grip on when I'm doing a Smith press, instead of having the thumb under the bar. You're switching over that, and gives you a little bit more shoulder mobility, and you press it, and you just go, oh, that just feels so much better, and as a result you get a better performance. All these little things add up over time. And when you have those wins and you can celebrate those wins, you realize that, sometimes, you're not always ready for that outcome that you might want. And you've got to go through the journey and go walk the path for a while to really, I guess, value that thing when you actually get there and tick it off, and realize that once you get to that thing, there'll be another thing, and there'll be another thing, and there'll be another thing.
Joe's like, it's never ending.
It's never ending.
Emotional work.
But I when I think about that now, that actually gives me a lot of, I guess, peace, because I'm like, well, when you learn one thing, there's something else to learn, and then you'll have a different perspective on that thing that you wanted so much previously, and you can sort of look at it in a slightly different way. But then you have this knowledge, and it was interesting. It's a bit of a basketball analogy, but they were talking about if Michael Jordan was playing today, would he be equally as good? And someone said, if Michael Jordan at the age he is right now, but was in the body of the 20-year-old Michael Jordan, he would absolutely dominate, because even though he was such a good player now, the life experience and all of the things that he's been through and understood would just make him such a better chess player, but also having that athletic ability because he's young. And it's just so true, because he would have learned so many things and had different perceptions on stuff that it's quite crazy to think how much better he could even be. One of the sad realities of getting older, but as you do get older, you get wiser and you appreciate things differently. So yeah, I think it's so important to try and understand that everything you're doing is a journey. And if you want the outcome that you want, and you want it to bring you this inner peace and this happiness, then it's if it was just given to you tomorrow, you wouldn't appreciate it, and you probably wouldn't be able to maintain it, or you wouldn't be able to sustain it and find the next thing. You wouldn't value it as much. So I think it's just so important to, even if you've got, I was talking to one of our coaches, Jen. She's working with a client who's 300 pounds, and she's doing really, really well to start. Looking at it, she's really, head down, bum up approach, like doing her food prep and doing all the basics. Changing her bedtime routine, getting the steps in. Doing all the things, doing the liver and oysters, and obviously when you're at that body weight, and we've spoken about this previously on the podcast, like 0.5 to 1% of your body weight loss per week is the good kind of range where you can be losing sustainably. That you're not going to be like starving. You don't have to do anything too outrageous to kind of make that happen. And generally, we also see like people, maintaining a little bit more lean body mass and that sort of thing. But certainly in her point of being 300 pounds, like 0.5 to 1% of body weight per week is like 3-4 pounds a week. Yeah. But for her, she was just like, should this be going faster? Should I be losing more than this because I've got so much weight to lose? And when we worked it out, she's actually losing a little bit more than that, but she's on the higher end of the range. And she was just like, if I actually work this out to the body weight that I want to be, it's going to be like over 100 weeks or something like that. And it's like, well, yeah, that's the reality. It wasn't going to happen any other way. And the thing is, it didn't take you 16 weeks to get to 300 pounds. This is years upon years upon years of what you've been doing. And I think that also, highlights what I was saying before, is if she can go through this journey of just losing that kind of percentage on a week-to-week basis, yes, it's going to be 100 weeks, but she's going to appreciate that journey so much more, because she's going to realize that that person that she was to get to 300 pounds needs to completely dissolve, and she needs to become this new version of herself. And by doing it at this pace, it's just going to continue to remind me, like, you can't fall back. You can't keep going back into these habits. You got to keep and habits take a long time to break,
Yeah, I think it's, like when women, because they'll sometimes join our program or they'll get introduced to this new concepts and methodology. And I think, just the work that I'm doing and you're doing, I feel like it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Oh, no
and
doubt.
It's sort of like you come in, you're like, you want to do it, then you fall back, and then you want to do it. And I think a lot of women will come into our program and sometimes they'll go back to the crazy ass diets and they'll be like, I just have to be thin. I just have to like focus so much on the outside, and I just need to lose weight at all costs. And then they do it, and then they get to the point where they're like, fuck it. I just can't do this anymore. And they come back, and I'll do calls with them, and they're like, I'm ready. I'm ready to actually go in and appreciate this process and become that new person. And I think, you know, like it's the fitness industry is just conditions women to lose weight. And, you know, like we always talk about, there's nothing wrong with wanting to change how you look. You know, you can still love yourself regardless. And if you're doing it in a healthy and sustainable way. But yeah, I think it's actually just surrendering to the process. And now that we're doing this, it's just giving me a whole new appreciation. When I say this to him, it's like, oh, fuck's sake. Like,
yeah.
You know, because I've struggled to surrender to this process massively. Like it's, you know, you just want to control everything. But I think, for me, it's given me such a, and that's something that I'm grateful for too. Because I think, oh, now when I'm speaking to clients, I can really relate to them. Like I can really feel it. Because it's been so long since I have, you know, with the food and the training, it's just you just do it now. Just do it. It's not, I don't really think about it anymore. It's who I am. So it's but this has given me that appreciation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is holding a mirror up to you and forcing you to look inward. And, you know, especially when you've got someone sort of facilitating that a little bit more, you know, they're asking questions that you probably always knew, but were afraid to ask of yourself. And what that kind of uncovers.
And like we talked about the, like now that it's like we can't go back.
Yeah.
You know, I think too, like when women.
Yeah, it's just like you've seen behind the curtain.
That's
now.
right.
It's like, you know, it was
the
like
red pill, blue pill in the Matrix.
Yeah, absolutely that. It's just like going back to that just seems so, you know, the saying like ignorance is bliss. And I'm like, but it wouldn't be blissful because you're just so aware of these things that you do or say and how you conduct in situations and how it like, and when you have that mirror kind of held up to you, you're like, oh, that doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
I want to really understand why this is happening. And then, you know, you work towards trying to improve that, you know, and it has to be something improved. I don't think it's ever something you're going to completely master, you know, there needs to be a point where you are so aware of it and that you can take so much ownership of it. And as a result, you start just making these changes to things that you do on the day-to-day basis that make you feel better. You know, I
think it's like, it's, you know, keep bringing it back to this women in the training and nutrition. And I feel like this journey for me, even with my own body and health, has evolved and things change. And like health is never perfect. Your body is never perfect. I mean, not perfect body, but you know, it's this ever evolving. I mean, you still go back to the same principles and it's much easier, but things do change and you realize that there is no perfect, you know, like there's sometimes you're going to have a shit night's sleep. Sometimes, you know, you might have poor digestion, but you know why, you know, you understand why, and you have the ability to make changes so that you feel better again.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, this podcast was supposed to be about the approach that we use with clients, but it's turned into something else, which is fine.
Well,
but
it's good. I mean,
it's a good one.
Talking on it, and I think, you know, hopefully a lot of people listening to this can kind of relate to this, that, you know, I think the lessons that you learn from engaging in the training, engaging in those habits that are conducive to you getting those results from a physical standpoint also carry over into a lot of the emotional work that needs to be done in order for you to continue and sustain those results. Because it's very easy for people to, and we see this all the time, when everything's going well in their life, they're nailing everything. And then the moment some shit happens, everything falls into pieces and they kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that also then leads to when they kind of come out of it, they have a regretful. They're like, oh, if I had to just sustain, you know, now I'm all the way back at the start and it just feels hopeless. You know, they start using these words and it's just, you know, it's something that you've learned, but it's just like, well, what can you do the next time when inevitably something like this happens? Because life isn't perfect. It's going to throw you curveballs at the most random of fucking times, you know, and your ability to be able to step back and look at it for what it is and go, right, what's the action that I need to take right now, you know? And I think it is okay to not, you know, understand what the action is, but also just sit in that feeling of what that is and just go, okay, this is what it is, and just sit in it for a bit. But I think after that, there has to be some sort of action that you need to take in order to start working through that. You know, the action shouldn't be from and I mean this in the empathetic way of, I'm a victim and I'm going to put this onto other people. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to put it all down on my coach. I'm not getting these results, and therefore
Or
it's
maybe
your
it's my
fault.
husband or
Yeah,
the
you know,
kids or someone
something
else.
like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, I mean, I've spoken about it a number of times on the podcast, but extreme ownership is where it has to start.
Which is what we're learning, isn't it?
It's what we're learning, you know. And
how you feel should be based on how someone is behaving.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck.
God. It's quite the revelation.
It's like we're really having to take some of our own advice here.
Yeah, I know. But the thing that's, you know, obviously when Greta will kind of say that stuff, it kind of triggers me more because I'm like,
I know this. Yeah, why can't I do it?
I absolutely do this, you know, and you know, I would be guilty of, you know, telling clients to do one thing, and I'm like, you're not fucking doing this yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you should be. You're like, what? Why is it that you're not taking action? And then, you know, you're asking better questions of yourself, and you're like, okay, what is really going on here? What's really triggering this? What's creating this nervous tension in you? Like, what's creating? Like, you keep pulling back the layers of the onion, and then all of a sudden you go, okay, this is what it is. This is what I'm going to need to do now. And there is something just so powerful when you come to that realization and go, this is the action I need to take right now. And you just start doing stuff. Everything just like literally overnight, things can change. Like the power of the mind is incredible like that.
I think too, like one thing she said to me, and I think women will relate to this, is like you get to the point where you're like, fuck it. I can't be like this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you just like, I can't do this. Like the women, like I can't, they keep going back to the keto and the restricted diets, and they do it for a little bit. They lose some weight. They get that bit of instant gratification.
Yes.
It's the same. I see the same thing in some of the things that I do doing this work. And then I'm like, oh man, you know, I just can't keep rushing over this anymore. Like it's just, you have to just do it.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to be happy long term, but it's just so interesting when you're sitting in it, doing it yourself. Like, you know, these things. So just know that we're not perfect either.
Not at all.
That we still have to work on things.
Yeah.
But we understand.
Yeah.
We understand. And I think, you know, and this is something that I've found difficult, is like you're trying to do things perfectly. You're trying to nail it all the time. And you're not always going to, and just giving yourself that grace. And just being like, it's part of the process, and you're going to have days that are sometimes harder than others. And then eventually it just gets easier and easier. And, you know, you just keep persisting and putting your energy into that, what it is that you want and you want to become. And I think you can't go wrong, you know, and we see it every day in our clients. You know, that's why I still love doing this when I get on calls with them and they're like, you guys have changed our life. You know, I'm sleeping better. I'm feeling better. I've got more confidence in my life. You know, I just feel so good.
Yeah.
And it just makes me so happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And everyone has the power to experience that. And I think at times, you know, certainly in this industry, like people have come from doing so many different restrictive diets and just, I mean, there is just no shortage of outrageous stuff that's out there that people put themselves through. And, you know, I think there is a time where people, they hit that rock bottom where it's like hopelessness, you know, and it's like, you know, I feel sad because I can't get this. I feel like I've been trying so long, and it's like hopelessness is at the bottom. And essentially what it is, it's, you know, hopelessness is a lack of options or a lack of perceived options, you know, and when you can kind of start to understand why you're in this particular predicament, and then, you know, sometimes, like, you know, from a nutrition perspective, it's just like, yeah, I just need you to start eating breakfast, and I want you to get some carbohydrates. We're going to add some coffee in with milk and sugar and get enough protein in and whatever. And I've had so many clients over time where they just haven't been eating breakfast, and they're like, oh, I'm not hungry in the morning. I'm like, I just need you to do me a favor for just a week. This is what I'm like, does this sound really nice to you? Like you're having this coffee with milk and maple syrup, and then, you know, maybe having, you know, a couple of scrambled eggs with some Parmesan cheese in it. Like, it's really, really easy to make. They're like, oh, that sounds good, but what about the fat and like cheese and whatever? I'm like, look, I just don't want you to worry about that. Like, I'm like, it's within your macros. It's going to be totally fine anyway. But I'm like, I just want you to do this. And I said, well, have a glass of orange juice or have some, you know, like cut up an orange. And I'm like, I just want you, I'm like, even though you're not hungry and you might not feel, I just want you to just do me a favor and just force it down for the next week. And in every single case, I can't even recall a case where this wasn't that people all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm actually starting to feel hungry in the morning. I'm actually starting to look forward to breakfast. When I get up in the morning, I get to eat this good food. And then all of a sudden, that is such a huge step in setting up the rest of their day that those sort of things can continue to build on. And then all of a sudden, all the things that they were doing to get them into that state of feeling, completely hopeless start to dissolve by just making these minor adjustments. And on a lot of occasions, it's not, you don't have to change a lot of drastic things, but just at a basic fundamental, that could be just as simple as that, just getting the right amount of nutrients in at the right time. It's just like go to bed a little bit early, so you wake up a little bit early, and then have those things that come into your system, and all of a sudden metabolism starts to regulate. You start to feel better because you've actually got some energy in the morning. You're not running on stress hormones anymore. Like your energy becomes more stable, especially if you can build on the rest of the meals throughout the day. And it's just, like I think you and I have been doing this for so long now that it just seems so obvious.
And you know what I think, and you might not relate to this because you're not a woman, but the women. But I think about like I used to just punish my body and like starve myself. I was so addicted to like being thin, and I would not eat and train a lot and, lose the weight and be lean and think, oh, I'm so fucking happy, because the outside looks good, but I'd be dying on the inside, and it'd be this constant like roller coaster of up and down, up and down. And I just was addicted to that, the high feeling of I need to look this way to feel good. Yep. And it's like we always say, there's nothing wrong, I don't think, with wanting to improve how you look.
Yes. Yeah.
But I just wanted to feel even.
Yep.
I just got to the point where it's like, I can't do this anymore. And actually just surrendering to the process and eating the food and loving the strength training and focusing on being strong and, building this body that I wanted, and just sleeping at night and waking up and having energy. And then just, like getting to a point where I feel strong and capable and I like the way I look, but it's not like I have to be tiny, and skinny. And I think so many women will relate to that because you just get to the point where you're like, oh, I just can't do it anymore, and I think that's where so many, when they come to us and I speak to them, that's where they're at. Yep. They're like, I can't do it anymore. So yeah, well, that was a bit of a tangent, wasn't it?
Nice one.
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
But hopefully
20 minutes.
Hopefully that helps. I think, maybe some tips to finish with is, I don't know, something that keeps me going is now that I've opened this curtain and I've seen what's underneath and I can see the possibility, it's like that's what keeps me going. Yeah. I think if you're listening to this and you're struggling, just give yourself that grace. Keep taking that consistent imperfect action and think about that person that you want to become and just keep going. Yeah. Just keep going. Yeah. Just think about, like I always think about how amazing it could be. Yes. So think about this amazing body that you can have, this strong, capable, energized body that sleeps through the night, that's strong, that's happy, that feels good. Yeah. Keep thinking about that. Yeah.
And as a result, so many other things will just improve in your life as a result. Like you just, when you're feeling good and you're happy and you feel capable, when you're confident, sky's the limit. And, but to get to that point, you've just got to embrace in that journey.
Yeah, just eating real fucking food's exciting
too. Just real fucking food.
Yeah.
Get some sun.
How much we love sun. We know how much we love the food.
That's true.
All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, take a screenshot and share your biggest takeaways on Instagram stories and tag me at Kitty, KITTYBLOMFIELD, and share your biggest takeaways. And each month I pick a winner and they get a tub of Saturée Premium Collagen. And we'll see you again next week.